Donald Trump, you're asking Americans to trust you with their future. Let me ask you, have you even read the United States Constitution? I will gladly lend you my copy.
That was back in 2016 when Gold Star father Khizr Khan denounced Donald Trump's treatment of Muslims and spoke in support of Hillary Clinton at the Democratic National Convention. Fast forward to 2024, and he is now giving his endorsement to Vice President Kamala Harris, saying that Donald Trump has only gotten worse and will be the end of democracy as we know it. Gold Star father Khizr Khan is joining us now. Thank you, sir, so much for taking the time. You say Trump is now worse than he was in 2016, and the stakes are even higher now. How so?
Anna, thank you. I am very concerned about the future of our country, the future of our democracy. Let's take the statements of Donald Trump. In Dayton, Ohio, he stated that if he's not elected, this will be end of democracy in this country. This will be the end of elections in this country. He had stated himself many a time that he will prosecute our election workers. There is all indication by his actions and by his words. We may be all in equal dignity, personally speaking, but we are electing a commander-in-chief. We are electing the highest office of United States. Trump, in his 4 years, have proven that he's undeserving, and his Attorney General Bill Barr said it publicly that Donald Trump should not be elected again as president. He is narcissist, troubled man. On the other hand, Kamala Harris, champion of rule of law, champion of democracy, champion for women, for equal dignity, champion for families. On the other hand, and I want your audience and the supporters of Trump to pause for a second and listen to this carefully. In 234-year history of United States, there had not been a president or vice president convicted of felony charges. Here we have Donald Trump, and that is where I say that in 4 years it has gotten worse. Donald Trump is convicted of 34 felonies, and he owes $554 million fine, monetary fine, that he still owes. It has gotten worse, and he has announced it in his own words that I will be a dictator on day one. And that is why I support Kamala Harris, who is champion of democracy, champion of people, champion for families, and for all Americans.
Your son was killed by a car bomb in Iraq and is buried in Section 60 of Arlington National Cemetery, the same area of the cemetery Trump recently visited and showed in a campaign video. What went through your mind when you saw that?
I was disgusted. I was disturbed that he goes to same Section 60 where he stood with his Homeland Secretary, then Homeland Secretary General Kelly, retired General Kelly, who is Gold Star father himself, at his son, young Kelly's grave, young Lieutenant Kelly's gravesite, and asks General Kelly, what is in it for them, as if he has no concept of service and sacrifice. I was disturbed to see that photo. I want his supporters to see that photo that he took on August 24 in Arlington Cemetery recently. His thumbs up, as if this was a political event that was taking place. I have utmost respect for the families of our fallen, our veterans and their families, utmost respect for their sacrifices. He was there to exploit. He was there to use it for political purpose. He has, by his own actions, he has proven himself to be undeserving of being considered for re-election.
The Trump campaign has actively pushed to keep the Afghanistan withdrawal and that bombing at Abbey Gate in the headlines, wielding it as a political attack against Vice President Harris. Here was J.D. Vance, Trump's running mate, using some strong language last month. Listen.
To have those 13 Americans lose their lives and not fire a single person is disgraceful. Kamala Harris is disgraceful. We're going to talk about a story out of those 13 brave, innocent Americans who lost their lives. It's that Kamala Harris is so asleep at the wheel that she won't even do an investigation into what happened, and she wants to yell at Donald Trump because he showed up. She can go to hell.
What do you make of that use of language and the Trump campaign putting the blame on Vice President Harris for the Afghanistan withdrawal?
And political civility in political discourse in our country, just because of Donald Trump and his team, had been at the lowest ever. And you heard the language. I pay tribute to Senator Vance's service and his valor, but this is not the way to conduct a political conversation. Donald Trump continued the war in Afghanistan. Kamala Harris ended and brought our troops home. Let's keep the facts straight. Kamala Harris ended the war and brought our troops home, whereas Donald Trump continued the Afghanistan war. I was not surprised by this political discourse, by this incivility in our political discourse. Senator Vance needs to reconsider his language and his tone. He is supporting a candidate. He ought to pause and think the political legacy that Republicans are building, and Senator Vance is part of it, that they have in last three presidential elections, this is all they have. They have nominated Trump in three last presidential elections. This time, he is convicted of 34 felonies. This is a tragic legacy that Republicans are building. They ought to reconsider, they ought to pause and think this is not, history will not treat them kindly.
Quickly, if you will, because of your unique perspective in having lost somebody in the military service to this country, I just have to ask you about the other comments we've heard from J.D. Vance recently, saying no one would want to serve in the military if VP Harris was commander-in-chief. What do you think of that claim?
That is beyond his position and beyond his capacity. This is, as I said again, this lowest level of incivility in our political discourse is because of Trump and his team. This is beyond his capacity, beyond him. If he pauses for a second and listens to himself, he will not say that again. This is what I am concerned about, that they have not considered where they stand, what they say in political discourse, how far deep they go during the political discourse. And Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris, is the most honorable, law-abiding champion of law, champion of our rule of law. And we will be very proud to see her as our commander-in-chief. And military families are the most respected families in because of their sacrifice and because of their service. And we all will be very honored to have Kamala Harris as our commander-in-chief in the United States.
Khizr Khan, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for your family's sacrifice. Really appreciate you taking the time with us this morning.